Hello everyone, welcome back to Gelvin Valley, masterpiece created by Wild Wes for Farming Sim 15. That's right, an old game by now, an oldie but a goodie. And I still think it holds up pretty good. Whoop, don't go down a hill there, bud. We are almost done harvesting field 42, just this middle piece left here. We're already below the top of the hill, so should be done here in fairly quick order. Things, I think, go quicker with a larger combine, although it takes a little more setup time. Most definitely just getting into and out of the fields. And as we leave this one, let's see. Oh, I am running over the crop. That was poor timing. And so I drove over the crop and stamped it out. Now let me see, where did I park? Alright, I'm on this side. In the last episode, I was talking about ways to amuse oneself when traveling on a road trip. And I know it's been a week ago at least, but kind of the idea, I got it from Russell, who had a video kind of on it where I learned that I was playing an international game as a kid called Slug Bug and Double Slug Bug. Apparently they had a variant of it in New Zealand. I talked about other things I could do then that I can't do now, like reading books, comics, or those kinds of things. Visited about books on tape. I think my favorite authors were Louis L'Amour and Pat McManus. And what a difference a good reader, can make. And, mentioned videos are now available. Most modern cars have the ability to project, not project. They have a screen that comes down out of the ceiling so you can see something that helps all the passengers in the back. Not so much the driver, but that's alright. He's to focus on the driving anyhow. Talked about amusing of self by just looking at a map, seeing kind of where we're going, and trying to figure out what was next, seeing kind of what was surrounded by it. I've always enjoyed maps and that kind of thing, and put it to good use. And we got way more map punch available now in our phones, really, and being able to see what's coming versus what we had then. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this all in one pass, so probably we'll come back. Well, boy, that's close. That is so close, but I'll leave a little tuft. There we go. And by all rights, I should be cutting these weed patches down when I come in here, but it's not. Can't even already see in here when you try to go in cab. So I decided to do another episode on this because there's a few other things that I know we did in cars back in the day just to amuse ourselves. And yes, I will freely admit in advance, these are dumb, they are stupid, but these are the things that we did. What did you do when you were bored off your rocker and was looking just for something to do to pass the time? Alright, so one other game we would do is attempt to read license plates. And I don't know how it is, in other nations. I know every place is going to have its own style of licensure for cars, motor vehicles, and it's probably even different here in the U.S. depending on what state you're in. But generally, in the state where I live, in the state of Oregon, for many, many years, what they would have is 3 letters of the alphabet followed by 3 numbers. And then, of course, if you wanted, I think what they call a vanity plate, where you could get your name or something, or whatever you wanted to say, you could get those. Those would be specialty plates. And now I think they've also gone to, because eventually you run out of, as the population grows, you're going to run out of options when you have just 6 digits. Although, granted, 3 of those digits were the alphabet, which would be base. How many letters do we got? Is it 26? Anyway, I can't remember the count. But now I think I've seen they're starting to put 3 numbers first and then 3 letters. And the other states have some variation of it or what have you. Anyway, we would attempt to read license plates. And honestly, it's how one of my younger brothers picked up his nickname. We call him George. And that's kind of a weird sound. How our interpretation of how to say JRJ. I mean, I still remember it a long time ago riding with one of my uncles in the cab of a pickup, and he's the one that taught us that. And there was somebody's license plate ahead of us. He says, well, that's either George or George, and just JRJ. And somehow we started calling, my youngest brother that. It has stuck like glue to him to this day. We still call him that. Yeah, go figure. I guess I come from a weird family. What can I say? So, you can imagine being on the U.S. interstate, or any major highway for that matter, there's going to be a fair number of cars on the road, and so you're going to see all sorts of things. And so, there's always one coming, so you can always get a new pronunciation. And most of the time, you didn't get something easy like M-A-C. Well, of course, we'd say Mac. It was always XPW or something, so we'd poke fun at each other as we tried to, figure out how to pronounce. Oh, I forgot about this little dab. We can't leave half of our crop in the field now. Alright, we'll take this out. And we'll scatter the last bit of our chaff, and let's see. I think... Alright, here we gotta go through this exercise again. So let me... Is this reasonably flat? Kind of, sort of. We'll set the brake. We'll hop out. Go over to our tractor. Wake him up. I think it's still kind of suspended in the air. Let's go out and turn around. Line him up here so he can... Is that the right way? I think that's the right way. Let's see. That's about right. Okay. Now come drop her off. I just hope it doesn't... Okay. Last time, remember I went down the hill? I think I want to try to... Alright, got her locked. And this time, I'm going to make use... I don't have often opportunity to do this. Can I... Unable to... Oh. Looking for trails. Left, Control F. Oh! No. I think that's gonna ram in. I forgot how to set... Yeah, I can't remember if there's a way to increase the distance. I know there is. Shucks. Okay. Well, let me get the truck down here. I probably can have the truck follow the combine at least. Here, let me put the cover on. I'll just park it right there for the moment and make sure it's still locked. I think it is. And we'll just take our tractor on out of here. We are heading over to 32. You know, and 32, as I recall, has a double gate entrance. So I should be able to take this along the entrance. And yeah. I should be able to drive straight in with the combine, so that'll be handy. Anyway, have you ever tried to pronounce license plates? I can't say many of these were passed on to the kids, but my kids, I'm just kind of hearkening from, technology changes over time, so you do what you gotta do back in the day. Is there any? No, I don't. Oh, wait, there is some. Let's drop the trailer. I'm just gonna head right here, and I'm sure there's probably room for... Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to hit Q. Okay, let me back up and dump the rest. I'm pretty sure we still have plenty, but I don't want to neglect them. 56,000. All right, let's look at this real quick too. Oh yeah, we got this field. You know, we bypassed this big one, but you know what? That's okay. We can come down through here to the farm, hit the big field, and still get this other one before returning. As it turns out, I am harvesting all of them with the bigger equipment. I was thinking I'd be coming in with the smaller combine, but I think we're going to get it with... there, let me drop that. We're going to get it all with the big one. Quick check. I guess we'll find out if the... What I don't know is if the trailer auto unlocks when it's unhooked. So we shall see if it survives the trip. You know, I almost think I do see it skittering along on there. I don't like that, I don't think. There. I reset it. Alright, here we got the entrance down here. That ought to do. I know I'm kind of taking up the road there. Okay, let me pass to... Alright, I'm going to turn this on. Control F is grabbing the combine. Okay, here we go. Follow the leader. Yeah, I have the follow me mod in here, but I just haven't used it that much, so this will be an opportunity to do just that. Gotta be careful. Let me go around this way so I can get out the gate properly. I'm just going easy. Scraping the post. Now we'll go up to max speed, mighty roaring 13 miles per hour. Yay. Uh-oh. Hopefully the truck doesn't have trouble over that. It didn't. Our sheep are probably wondering what in the world we're bringing through here. Alright, pronouncing license plates. Then there was the old standby, and I know we did this a lot at school. You know, whenever we were going on a field trip, you know, I remember in grade school, we'd occasionally go to a planetarium. We went to a spring camp, a couple locations. We'd go to the zoo, it seemed like, every year. This place called OMSI, Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. So, I mean, there's all sorts of trips. And, of course, every time you take one of those trips, you're hopping on a good old school bus and you're mixed in, you know, with all your peers. And a lot of things what we did is when we were going down the interstate is, and we couldn't stick our arms out the window. If we would have attempted to do that, an alarm would have gone off, we'd have got in trouble. But we'd always pump our fist and our arm, you know, kind of with an up and down motion, and the truck drivers would see that, and some of them, having previously been little boys themselves, you know, would hit their air horn for us. That's what we were trying to get them to do. So the goal was to see how many trucks we could get to blow their horns, you know, while we were traveling down the road. All in good fun, right? Oh, let me see here. Control F. Let's just park you here for the moment. Okay, we are holding up a car. Oops. There we go. I didn't mean to turn not quick enough. Let me try to do this. Holding up a car, so try to get out of their way as soon as we can. This occasionally happens in real life where traffic has to wait a little bit. Now, let me see, can I take this? I think I can. Let me just sneak this down here. Head on down, turn around. We'll bring it this way. Back to our combine. And let me come in here just a little bit, and we'll combine a strip kind of and make an area for the truck. This has got to be common too in other nations as well. One of the first orders of business, you know, when you open the field up, is to create an area for the trucks and other equipment, you know, that you have with you in the field, so that they have. Oh, I hit higher. I didn't mean to hit higher. Alright, let me go to my truck, and it looks like the driver was able to get through. We'll take you off the road and be kind to the other drivers and whoever else comes through here. Alright. Okay. And of course we all know what happens on the first round. Although I think we stayed sufficiently far away from the fence, we probably could have gotten closer than we did. Although this particular field, now that I think about it, it's always been arable, so we weren't the ones to create it. And you know, maybe this is instructive to me. I know I've talked before, asked the question for anybody that lives in Ireland or the UK. if they ever should see this, what is normal in a farm field? Do you have a large area between the crop and the edge of the field, or do you farm clear up to the fence? Anyway, this isn't so bad. This is pretty good, matter of fact. Alright, so we get the trucks to honk their horns, and even to this day, I've done it again a time or two, and the truckers are usually oblige. There's some good guys out there still that roam the country in trucks. Another game we would play to amuse ourselves on road trips would be to look, again, this was of license plates, and we would try to be the first one to find all the letters of the alphabet, in the license plates that we would see. Of course, the grading system was kind of on the honor system, if you will. There was always the thought that, of course, if I didn't win, it must mean, one of my brothers was just a cheater, and that's how he won. So that was another game we played. So that one kind of required a little pencil and paper, because you had to keep a few records while you were playing it. And all of these, by the way, I don't recall them being played really for extended periods of time. We would do it until we were bored of it, or one person would keep doing it and would shout out what they found, and the rest of the people were, sitting there, oh, shut up already. We're already moved on to other things. So it isn't even that we did them for a long time. Another one we did also with license plates is look to see how many different states we could see. Oftentimes when you're out on the road, it's very common to see drivers from other states. And so we would, again, you had to kind of accumulate a list on a piece of paper, and that could kind of go for a while because you really had to pay attention for an extended period of time. And I kind of think maybe a variation of how we'd play that too is it was first come, first serve. So if you saw a Wisconsin plate and you shouted out the state, and you were the only one that could write it down on your list, and nobody else could. I mean, obviously, if everybody wrote down the same ones, well, you'd all have the same count, of states. So I kind of think we added that rule. The had to shout it out, and the first one to say it is the one that got it. And sometimes you would encounter some really interesting plates. And for example, the one I always found fascinating, because I wondered how it got here, was you occasionally will see a Hawaii car plate. And it's like, that's a little island way out in the middle of the Pacific somewhere. How did that car get here when there's no roads from there to here? And obviously it had to have come on a barge. Somebody maybe bought it. Who knows how it got here? Even seeing a car from Alaska would sometimes be puzzling. The capital city of Alaska is landlocked, or no, not landlocked, that isn't the term. Maybe it's ocean locked? Well, whatever it is, you can't drive to Juneau. You have to get there either by air or by sea. And so, but if you go further up into Alaska, there is the Alaskan-Canadian Highway. So I suppose an Alaskan car could get down here. Otherwise, most of the other states, as we would call it, the lower 48, they're all within driving distance, of course, of one another. Probably at one time or other, I've seen them all. so different license plates. I don't recall that we played it on an international perspective. I suppose, I don't know how the licensing works like in Europe, but there's a whole bunch of countries there to where, it'd be something international. Whereas for us, for example, I don't remember seeing a car that had a Canadian plate. I since have seen them. I mean, I know they have them, of course, but you just don't see them very often unless you're up around the border. And depending on how far, they're going to travel in there. Or ditto from Mexico. The U.S. only borders 2 countries, so it'd be primarily just from those other 2, that you would see. Every time I look at my list, which I have on another screen, of course, that's when my combine gets full. So let me go wake the truck up and go empty the combine. We won't leave it parked on the steepest side of the slope. Put it there. Back to our combine. Oh boy, that's barely over the truck. If that was real life, I'd be putting half of it on the ground. Not good at all. And here now, I just take a look at my money up beside the clock. These machines are very expensive. And the more I'm thinking of it, this is interesting. But, let's look at this again. I don't know if I'm even half done. We did this, the pasture over here, these dinky fields, these, now we're here. We still have some sizable fields, to cut down in here. There's a sizable chunk of ground in here. We have a massive field over here, and then a pretty large one here. So there's, and I can't forget this one. There's a lot of harvesting left to do, so I am going to be quite a bit more in the red, I think, by the time this is all over with. Up the hill for another run. Let me see, the last thing that I put on my list is playing a board game. Now, when I was finishing high school, I think that's about how old I was. My dad, well, let me see here. No, I wasn't done with high school. I think it was for my parents when they had their 15th wedding anniversary. Oh boy, I think about that now, and I know how many wedding anniversaries I've had with my wife and I. We are long past 15. Oh my goodness, time just flies, doesn't it? Anyway, for their 15th wedding anniversary, what they wanted to do was take their kids on a trip to where they went on their honeymoon. And my parents, when they got married, they took their honeymoon up in Canada. Banff and Jasper is what I remember. So I think that is in the Alberta province. I think that's where those are located. So that's kind of where we spent our time. Beautiful mountains, kind of up to the headwaters of the Columbia River. And so, my father decided to rent a huge RV to haul us all up in there. I think the thing, I felt like it was as long as a bus. And I think they were maybe trying to save some money, so we didn't have to go in hotels. When you have a large family, at this point, they had all 7 of us kids. I think they had all 7 of us. And, that's expensive going to hotels and everything. So they got this RV, and you could cook your meals in there, take a shower, use a restroom in it, and plus you could travel in it. So, I remember long days, there's the bell, long days living in that thing for, was it 2 weeks? Week and a half? I don't remember how long the trip was. But the seat where I sat in it was kind of around the eating area. And again, I don't even know if this was legal. I think I had a seatbelt on. I'm pretty sure I did. But I also had a table. And so at the table, I had a board game that I love playing all by myself. And you won't be surprised, when you hear me say what it is. It was called the farming game. And I don't know if anybody's heard of that. I think I've mentioned it maybe in a previous episode. I played the stuffing out of that game. I kind of think it was invented maybe the latter 70s, 80s, somewhere in there. And it was made by a farmer, a real-life farmer, in central eastern Washington, the Yakima area or whatever. And basically the whole premise was kind of similar to Farming Simulator. Is you were working a job in town and you were trying to farm, and so you had to make decisions: what land to buy, what kind of crops to put in it, and then there was you tried to make a profit on it. So there was various things that would happen to you. Your fruit trees would freeze, and you had to pay all this money for loss you'd have. So anyway, we took that game along with us, and I played it so often, I started making my own rules. I adapted it to our local agriculture. I eventually wrote a whole new board game for grass seed, and I still have that somewhere on my computer. It all is done. There's a lot of dice rolling and so forth. And I just prefer to play Farming Simulator now, but I still have kept it. Anyway, with so many hours on the road, and I could entertain myself for hours doing that. Of course, I missed a lot of what was going on out the window that we were driving through, but had a wonderful time farming, even in the middle of the vehicle, traveling with the family. Well, we are almost done with Field 32, and we'll be moving on shortly. But the bell is rung, so it's time to close this particular episode. Thank you all for watching and coming along and hearing my silly talks. Hope you all are doing well, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.